Hi everybody, it's May 2020, so it's time to update my video on what you can do and what you can expect to be able to customize if you hire a Nitrado private server for DayZ on PC, and mainly for console, for PlayStation and Xbox. I know there's a lot of Xbox people coming in now because it's free to play on Game Pass. So let's get the PC out of the way first, because that's the easiest one. So DayZ, one of the most amazing things about it is the fact that you can mod the game significantly. You can change what spawns in on the map, how you spawn in on the map. You can add maps, you can add missions, you can add traders, different vehicles, loads and loads of stuff. And the way that you do it on PC is you go to Steam, go to the Steam workshop, and then you can subscribe to these mods that you see here. There's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of them. And these are what we would call client and server-side mods. So you subscribe to them. So the mod is then applied to your local game on your PC, and then you then have to install them on your server as well, your private server. And you can do that through Nitrado, and you can have all these wonderful mods running, which is absolutely fantastic. Of course, you can still do simple XML mods on your PC Nitrado server, and you can do like init.c mods where you're actually digging into the files in the databases. That's all possible too. So if you've got a Nitrado PC private server for DayZ, crack on, you can do everything. Now, if you've got a PlayStation or Xbox and you get a Nitrado gaming server, you're a little bit more limited, but we can now do so much more than we could before. Things that people have been able to come up with and the server-side mods that people have been able to do is stunning. It's absolutely amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through our modding resource channel on my Discord. And what I try to do with this channel on the Discord is bring together information that I've put out there and other YouTubers and people have put out that show you how to do these mods, because it's a little bit more complicated. There's nothing to subscribe to. There's no official support for modding on console where you can go to a website and it's got a list and you just click on them. You've got to get down and dirty with the XML code and with FTPing and things like that. So that's why you'll see on the channel the first video is when edits go wrong. Because I would say, if you're thinking about delving into modding on any private server, whether it's PC, PlayStation or console, Nitrado or anybody else, it can be a very frustrating and difficult experience. So that's the first thing. So here we go. So the big thing that you can do with your Nitrado servers is, for PlayStation or Xbox, you can edit item spawn rates. So that means any item that appears on the map, apart from yourself, apart from your character, you can edit how many of them spawn in on the map. So, guns, food, chickens, bears, zombies, vehicles, all that sort of stuff. You can change the numbers. Now, you can only do it within a certain envelope. So if you imagine on your average DayZ map, there's meant to be overall, say, 1,000 weapons. If all of a sudden you had 10,000 weapons, you added them in, then chances are the game's going to stop working. So generally you add stuff in, say you add some food in, you'll take something out, say some of the useless clothing that you never use. But we can do that, and that's a massive game changer, because you can make survival easier on your server, or you can make survival harder, by taking away food or adding food. You can make it more of a PvP server by having more guns, or less of a PvP server by taking them away. We can add more dynamic events. So here's a video about how to add more helicopter crashes. So if you didn't know already, around the map, very, very rarely you'll come across either a Huey crash or a Russian helicopter crash. You can add more of them, so you've got more chance of finding the high-end loot that only appears with helicopter crashes. And also, I'm not sure if I did it there, but we can also add something called a C-130. So that the Hercules cargo plane, you can add that as a crash site as well, or as instead of your helicopters. So instead of coming across a smoking helicopter, you can come across a C-130, which is really cool. That's one of my favourite mods, actually. I love that mod, because when you come across one of the C-130s, they're very impressive indeed. Player positions, you can track where people are on the map. It only logs their position every 5 minutes from what I remember, or if they've done something like they've had fall damage, or they've attacked a zombie, or they've built something or something like that. But you can track people. So what that means now is that if you're running a server with certain rules like no killing or no base raiding, you can see where people have been. I mean, if someone kills somebody, you'll see that in the logs, but say you were trying to figure out who raided a particular base, you could look at your logs and you could say, well, I know that player was next to that base at that time, so it's probably them, and you could kick and ban them, which is really cool. You can while we're on that, you can control access as well, so you can have whitelists. So people don't need to use passwords. You just put their usernames in, or you can have password, or you can have both if you wanted to, as well. Here's a video from Soy Legend: how to increase, change loot and weapon spawns. Now, Don has done Don Sibley Games have done some amazing videos on what you can do on DayZ console. So again, you would click on that video to see. You can change the time and the speed that time occurs on your console Nitrado server, so you can have time go faster. So generally for people, a lot of the time what they want shorter nights. So for example, on my server I've set it up so our days last 6 hours and our nights last about 15 minutes, because I don't really like DayZ at night when I'm on a PvE server. It's very difficult to survive when you're on well, if there's lots of zombies around and doing stuff like that. Reinstalling, reinstarting, obviously we can do all stuff like that. That's how to add the C-130 plane crash. We can change where players spawn in. This is a really important one. So you can have custom spawn points for players, so you can make them spawn wherever you like on the map. So normally with Churnerus on DayZ, they spawn all the way around the edge. You can have them spawning in the middle of the map. You can match where players spawn in this video to where, say, helicopters might spawn, or where police cars might spawn. So you would spawn in the middle of the map, and again, that really changes up the gameplay, because normally you start at the coast where all the crap loot is, and then you move inland. Whereas if people are spawning inland, they're already in with the loot, aren't they? Another video, how to add more heli crashes and heli spawn locations. Right, so that brings up a good point. You can change the spawn locations of items. Now, this is very tricky to do. It's not that stable, and it doesn't always work when you try and have custom spawn points for things. So when you look at some of these videos, and mine included, often you'll think, oh right, that's cool. So what I can then do is I can make this sea chest spawn in next to my base with all this stuff in. Often it won't work. Things like the ground has to be normally has to be flat. There has to be not other things going on around it, so it's not always consistent. So you've got to be careful with things like that, but it is possible to do if you've got lots of patience. What I've done, actually, custom modded XML download. So if you go through, if you join our Discord, if you're over 18, you can join it and you can look at this channel. I've put together packs of XML files, and the XML files are the things that change the game on console Nitrado servers and PC ones. So instead of having to delve into the code yourself, you can just download these XML files and then upload them to your private server and have the mods already without having to get your fingers dirty. How to spawn guns on the coast and much more. So this is a good thing that you can do. So generally, again, with DayZ on Churnerus, you start on the coast and you work your way in. So the better guns and the better loot is further into the map. We can actually change that, and you can say, actually, I want better guns closer to the coast. Maybe you want like more guns spawning along the coast, because you want like a PvE server, so you want people to spawn in and be able to run into houses and towns along the coast and find an M4 assault rifle. You can do that sort of stuff, which is really cool. Another Don, you've got to watch Don's videos. He does things like he spawns in secret IT. He shows you how to spawn in secret items, spawn in vehicles complete, spawn in vehicles with things inside them, spawn in non-player characters. Loads of really good stuff, as you'll see. Lots of information there. How to create custom spawn points for everything. So again, the problem with that is, again, it's not always consistent. It's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as just going to the files and saying, right, I want a car here. It doesn't always work. You need a lot of patience, but Often it will, so again, you can do that. How to add cannabis seeds to your private server. There's lots of things that are in the DayZ files that aren't actually used in the game at the moment. So things like the sword, the cannabis, there's like a cattle prod. There's several vehicles that don't work, but you can call the carcasses of the vehicles into the game. That are there that you can call in, that we've figured out how to do, and you can see in these videos. Spawn guns with mags and full of bullets. So if you've played DayZ already, you know that the chances are that when you pick something up, it could be damaged, it could be empty. Especially with guns, you'll pick up a gun and it won't have a magazine on it, or if you pick up a magazine, it won't have any bullets in it. So you can change the files so that actually every gun will spawn with a magazine on it, and every magazine will be full of bullets, and every item on the server will spawn in and it won't be damaged, so things last a lot longer. So that again changes the flavour of the game, makes things a little bit easier. And again, if you were trying to create a PvE server, that might be really good, because people could run into a house, they pick up an M4, an AK or a KA, and it's got a magazine with guns in it already, and you're good to go, you're ready to fight. So that's really cool, that mod as well. Change where items spawn, so I mentioned that one earlier. You can change, so you may want to do something whereby at the moment, say all the good guns spawn in military locations. Well, you might want to say, actually, I want to put good guns into places like hospitals and fire stations and police stations as well, and you can do that now on console, PlayStation and Xbox servers. Bit about reinstalling, more custom servers. So that's interesting, actually. So Don's did a video on console modding possibilities, and in that video he kind of discussed a lot of what you can do on PC and what they did manage to do on console for a very short period of time when we had access to the init.c files by mistake, and hopefully we'll get that support. Fingers crossed. We're not really sure what's going to happen with that, so just stick to the things I've really talked about in this video. Adding secret items, so things like you can put like a zombie face on your character. As I said, the sword, the cannabis, the cattle prod. There's loads of stuff that's in the files that you can spawn in. Here's a video about spawning non-player characters. So you can spawn in like a character who just sort of stands there with kit on, and he's like a real player, but he's a non-player character, so he just kind of sits there, but they bleed and they die. You can change the number of zombies that spawn in. So like in this video, Don shows you how to spawn in a zombie horde on console, which is really cool. How to spawn in wood piles and planks next to your base. Soy Legends done this one. So again, that's really cool. So if you're into base building and you want to build a massive base and you don't want to keep looking for planks of wood everywhere or cutting down trees, you can do something like that. How to spawn buildings. So we can actually, it's a bit of a workaround, but you can use events to actually spawn different buildings in different places on the map. So you could like put a prison on the airfield, in the Northwest airfield, all this sort of funky stuff. So you can like make your own towns. Again, it's not fully supported and it can be very inconsistent, and it really can affect how the game runs, but it's something that the guys have worked out how to do, and you can actually, with patience and quite a bit of time, you can actually do that. There's some more XML files. How to edit spawn items and locations. So again, what Don shows you in that video is, say for example, the helicopter crash, you could have different things spawning in around a helicopter crash. So instead of high-end loot like FALs and ghillie suits, you could have food, or you could have cars. You could have all sorts of different things spawning in. What Don's done in this video, this is a really cool video, changing zombies. He changes what zombies are wearing. So he puts zombies that have ghillie suits on, and they are probably some of the scariest zombies you'll ever see. A zombie running after you with a ghillie suit on. But you can do that so that, say your military zombies have got a nice big backpack on, and they've got nice camouflage gear on. When you kill them, that means you can then take that gear off them, and it makes looting a little bit easier. So again, it changes the flavour of the game. Don shows you how to spawn in the 300 round mag there. There's my beginner's guide. Another great video from Don. This is where he's spawning in the vehicles that aren't in the game at the moment, so we can do this on console now. So the van, the bus, the V3S truck, they don't work, you can't drive them around, but you can spawn them in as cargo containers, or just general furniture to make your map look a little bit cooler. Here's a video showing you how to add more loot spawns to your console server, so you can have more loot in different places. In this video, Don shows you how to build a bridge to the prison island, so you're physically changing the structure of the map on console, which is amazing. We could never do that last year. We'd never figured out how to do it. More files, and there we go. So hopefully that's given you an idea of, on consoles now we can do so much more than we could before, because we now have access to lots of the XML files and how events spawn, and it really is quite an adventure now. But again, there's that big caveat to it. If you're thinking about doing it, it is fairly complicated. Things do go wrong very, very often when you're trying to do it, and you need a lot of patience. But there we go. So it answers the question, what can you do with a Nitrado private server? PCs, you can do everything, in the Steam Workshop, do all that sort of stuff and more. And on Xbox and PlayStation, we can do an awful lot. Right, that's enough from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.